Welcome to the debut episode of The Break Room. I am Robert Littal from BlackSportsOnline.com, and with me I have the lovely Jill Munroe, who I like to call the franchise because she is the franchise player from Jocks and Stiletto Jill. This is our very first episode. We will be coming to you every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, talking about the latest things in sports entertainment. We appreciate you coming on. We're going to be taking your questions. We want to hear your feedback on Twitter, on Facebook, on Google+, on YouTube. This is a show for the people. And we appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate you checking out our debut episode. And we know we're on break. That's why we call it The Break Room. So we're going to get right into the show. We're going to talk about what everybody is talking about right now, which is the BCS championship game. Last night, Florida State defeated Auburn, and it was one of the best BCS championship games of all time. A lot of people are calling it the second best, behind the infamous USC and Texas game. We had a last-second touchdown from our guy Jameis Winston. Now we're going to talk to Jill. Jill is normally our NBA lady, but she actually got caught up in the excitement of the game at the end. What'd you think about it, Jill?
I did. I caught the fourth quarter. I'm not going to lie. I caught the fourth quarter, but I feel like there was so much excitement, the way that Florida fought back and came through, and how Jameis proved all his critics wrong. But what we have to talk about, outside of the outstanding game, is all the heat that he took with his post-game speech. He just created an incredible feat. I think only 3 freshmen have done that in history, to go undefeated for the season, and then to win the Heisman and end up in the BCS title game. And all the critiques were about, is he educated because of how he spoke in postgame when he was caught up in the excitement? And I think you brought up last night that he actually has a 4.0 GPA.
Yeah, he's a very smart guy. And what started everything was A.J. McCarron's mom, who is, A.J. McCarron is the quarterback for Alabama. They had won a bunch of national championships. She actually tweeted out, while he was doing his speech, was he speaking English? And it kind of struck a nerve with me because I'm from the Midwest. I have a little bit of an accent. But what happens is that, when you're black, these type of things are held against your intelligence. Whereas if you go to the South, or if you go to Texas, or you go to Miami, there are people that have accents, white people that have accents, Cuban people that have accents, and, that is not held against their intelligence. What happens with African Americans, and especially African American men, is that, if we have an accent, if we say certain type of words a certain type of way, that means that we're dumb, or we're hood, or we're thugs. It's coded messages, and it's stereotypes, and it's ignorance, that is out there. And that's what bothered me, because I know for a fact, and I know you know this, Jill, is that when you're speaking live, like we're doing right now, and you magnify that by 100 million people watching online and tweeting about it, and the cameras in your face, and you have all that adrenaline.
92,000 people in the crowd at the Rose Bowl.
And next thing you know, they sticking a camera in your face. You just won the biggest game of your life. Yes, he rambled a little bit, and it didn't make a lot of sense. And he's from the South, so he has an accent. But that has nothing to do with that man's intelligence. It has nothing to do with the type of person, that he is. And when people say this and they make those type of statements like that, it just really irks me, because it puts us down as a country. And that's not the way that we're going to be, good with that right now. She apologized, and that's all great and everything, but hopefully we learn, as we talk about all the time, Jill, you have to think before you tweet, right?
Absolutely. Tweet and delete does not exist. Screen grabs last forever.
Forever, exactly. Now, the show is called The Break Room. Now, it's kind of ironic. We came up with the name before everybody started using it as their little code words, the break. Dwayne Wade went on a fake break to have a baby, and Ludacris was on a break when he had his baby. And now, broken by our girl, Jill, on Jocks and Stiletto Jill, Kevin Durant and his WNBA fiance. I'm sorry, sometimes I can't get the WNBA out because nobody cares about the WNBA. So I apologize. Let me say it slowly. The WNBA star, Monica Wright, his fiance, they are allegedly on a break. Tell us about that, Jill, and what that means.
So, Monica, most WNBA players go overseas to play in their off season. The WNBA is not like the NBA where they get, millions and $1 million worth of cash. I think 100,000 is around, somewhere in there, a little bit more than that is the top salary. So Monica was in Korea. Now, December 5th, she suddenly left her team. There was talk of a family emergency back at home. At one point, she wanted her mom to come over and keep her company. She left the team. The team really isn't sure why. She's actually suffering a 5-year ban because she left the team suddenly and didn't really reach out into contact with them. Came back to the States. Monica posted a lot on Instagram. She hasn't been rocking her ring. When the Thunder were in New York for the Christmas Day game against the Knicks, all the girlfriends were there. You saw Carrie Hilson with Serge. You saw Russell Westbrook and his girlfriend Nina. Monica was nowhere to be found. And then on New Year's Eve,
was James Harden stripper girl there? The Mahalia Jackson, whatever her name is, the one that alive. Yeah, was she there? The twerker? Or she the stripper? Or she the erotic dancer? Which one is it? I'm sorry, I get confused.
James is in Houston now, though. She's irrelevant. So Monica was missing, and on New Year's Eve, Kevin was just partying with his brother. Same thing. All the girlfriends were there, and then Monica's been posting very cryptic posts on Instagram. Again, no ring. And then there is the biggest indicator in the age of social media. Kevin unfollowed her on Instagram.
Kill him.
So there's definitely something going. And Kevin also started following some of his exes, one being LaToya Luckett. So they haven't commented publicly yet, but something is definitely up. We hope that they can come back together. I know they're 25 years old. Things are kind of difficult at that point. So I hope they work it out.
Well, here's the thing. My birthday was yesterday. So I'm getting old. That's no question. There's actually, you can't see it because I made sure the lighting was in a particular way, but I got a couple of gray hairs that's actually coming, on the goatee. But when I was younger, when people would say they were on a break, that was just, a code word for that, their girl caught them cheating. And, she didn't want to embarrass herself and in front of her friends and everything. So they would say, oh, we're taking a break, or we're going to, take some time off so I can do me. That young people probably don't know that. But me and Jill know that when back in the day, that's what they used to say before, you can write, all your messages on Instagram and Twitter. When a relationship was going bad, the girl would say, something? I'm just going to do me for a little bit, and cry herself to sleep and watch TV. She didn't vent on Twitter because there wasn't a Twitter to do that, So, Kevin Durant and a lot of these guys, they're young guys. They're young guys, and I think sometimes the pressure to be in a relationship, the pressure to get married, the pressure to get engaged, to have this certain, perception for the media and maybe for mainstream society sometimes overwhelms them. And Kevin is kind of a mama's boy. And I think now, he's growing up and he's enjoying a little bit of the fruits of his labor. So, I think if he's not ready, then don't do it. Because you don't want to get in a situation where you marry young and you end up like Dwayne Wade and his ex-wife, fighting back and forth. So if you want to go James Harden, if you want to do your Harden ones and do your strippers and your R&B singers, then you go ahead and do that. Just make sure you're not de-waiting. Wrap up so you don't have a bunch of kids like Dwight Howard and everything that you got to hide from the mainstream media and everything. So
are you throwing lots of shots here? Pow, pow.
I mean, hey, man, look, this is the break room. This is not First Take. This is not ESPN. This is not Peter King. We're going to tell the truth on here. If the people want the truth from me, I speak to the dollionaires. I don't speak to the mainstream. If there's something that needs to be said, there's need to be said. So, if you're a stripper and you're dating an athlete, you're a stripper. I'm not going to call you an exotic dancer. You understand? If Dwight has 500 kids all over the country, in Tigway and all of that stuff, I'm going to let the people know. That's how it's going to go in the break room. So they need to, understand that.
All right. Well.
and right from that, I got some more stuff to say, but I want to hear what you got to say because everybody knows how I feel about the legendary Johnny Manziel, at the club one night, 2 chicks, at the, or at the BCS championship game on the set in the Tom Ford suit, looking good after that. A lot of people hate on Johnny Manziel, but I want to know what your thoughts is from a female perspective on what you think about Johnny Manziel.
Johnny the God is about to get it in. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, to the point of what we just talked about. He's young, rich, before he even gets his NFL money. He's supposed to be out there wilding out a bit. He took care of business in season. You heard nothing about him off field this season as a distraction or anything like that. So what, he goes to chill with Drake. That's what he's supposed to do. He hasn't announced his opting out yet, but we know it's coming. The NFL needs someone like that. I think it can only add to it. We've had some, especially as we're coming off of this wave with RG3. I think that Johnny Manziel is going to be a lot of fun. Johnny the God. That's what.
Did you see RG3 trying to cup his wife's booty, but she didn't have a lot, so he couldn't get a good cup. See, the brothers know what I'm talking about. Now my Caucasian brothers, you listen to me. When you your lady, you got to cup, the booty, and RG3 was kind of like palming it. He didn't have a good cup going on. But as far as Manziel, I agree with you. Now, I want to just add one little caveat. Love Johnny Manziel. I think he should do whatever he wants to do. And what he proved in college is that, he can do these things and still perform, at a high level. Totally different beast, in the NFL. And what we find out is that with these type of guys, they will build you up to a legendary status. They'll put you all the way up here just to take you all the way back down. So as long as he's putting in the work, on the field, and as long as he's performing, I think the sky's the limit for him, and it's very entertaining to me. I'm actually going to make a call to Jerry Jones, because I got Jerry Jones on my speed dial. He follows me, not really, but I'm just going to act like he does. I'll call him, tell him to draft Johnny Manziel, because I think he'd be great in Dallas just for my entertainment. Now, it's the break room. We know you got to get back to work, but we want to take a few questions from you, the people. And we want to answer those questions for us. So if you have questions for us, what you do is you can tweet us, or you can use the hashtag #TheBreakRoom or the Q&A session here on the actual video, and we'll answer your questions for you on air. So the first question that we had is actually for Jill, and it was coming from Jill. You have to let me know exactly who it was, but they were asking you, have you ever just buried a story because you were close with an athlete or close with a family member, and how do you handle that when you get tips like that?
The guy's name, I lost, it was like Elroy Jetson. I'm going to shout you out. I lost the tweet, but I appreciate the question. Classic example. I knew about the D-Wade pregnancy about 6 months ago, but for various reasons, I couldn't put it out. I want to be fair. I want to give you guys as much information as possible, but there are times when I have to hold things back. Sometimes politically, sometimes because it may or may not be a friend, or just because I want to make sure the information that I'm giving to you is accurate, on point, and unrefutable. We're not media takeout. We're not like some of these other sites where we just throw whatever out there. We actually do our due diligence to research it, to try and see, where is this coming from? Is there truth to it? Who started it, and the facts behind it. So that's sometimes the reason why. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's just a matter of confirming the facts. So, all right, but I'm going to take this question for Rob. So the question for you, Rob, has to do with the hiring of University of Texas coach Charlie Strong, and him being referred to as the hip-hop coach. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the thing that was interesting about that is that from the time that he was mentioned as a possible candidate, you kind of saw these subliminal shots being taken out about him. Like they were trying to say that, hey, he's black, but he's not, a hip hop coach. He doesn't, he's not black. He's not a real black person. He's a cornball brother. As Rob Parker famously said before he got fired. And I think that's wrong. We're all black. If you're black, you're black. There's no this black type of black guy and this type of black guy and the criminal and the college educated. None of that stuff, matters. In the end, we're all black. So it's offensive when you try to separate, us. Now, he's going to have some unique challenges because I've already seen articles calling him a recluse, saying that, he's not qualified, that he can't handle the media and the boosters and everything there in Texas. There's been whispers because he has a white wife and mixed kids that, some people are not, happy about that. And maybe that stopped him from getting interviews and jobs in the first place. Now, the thing about that, and I always tell anybody this, is in any profession, the best way to silence ignorance is by winning. If you're winning and being successful, your staunchest hater will all of a sudden become your biggest fan. So his number one job is to kind of eliminate all of that white noise, pay no attention to it, pay it no mind, don't get all caught up in that, and just win games. And if you win games at the University, of Texas, then you're going to be a big, big star, regardless if you're white, black, Kaepernick, or Bosch, whatever. So this last question is an interesting one. You coming from, L.A. And everything. They want to know, what do you think about legalization of marijuana and, how that may affect, athletes and the fact that they can now, just literally kind of walk into some stores and buy weed in certain states?
In season, it's not going to affect them at all. The rules aren't going to change in the collective bargaining agreement. The NBA and the NFL have already spoken out about Colorado, saying that our players are not allowed to use marijuana for recreational purposes. Just like how you can't drink on your job or whatever, you can't use weed during the season. You can't use it in the off season technically, but we all know what goes on with that. So, it's not going to affect it at all. At some point, it probably will have to be addressed later on down the line if more states start to legalize it. But at the moment, no change at all. And that is our time here on the break room. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the introductory episode with myself, Jill Munroe of Jocks and Stiletto Jill.com, and Mr. Robert Littal of BlackSportsOnline. We will be here each and every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central. And we want to make sure you guys subscribe, check us out, send us questions. We appreciate all the love. Check out the sites if you want more in depth on the stories that we talked about, and we will see you next week. Thanks for checking us out.
Say bye, Elle. Say Ellie. Say bye. Say bye. Ellie, you're not feeling this, are you? Okay. All right. Bye, Elle. Thanks so much for watching.